Chapter 1. What Sami Sings with the Birds. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. What Sami Sings with the Birds by Johanna Spyri. Translated by Helen B. Dole. Chapter 1. Old Mary Ann. For 3 days the spring sun had been shining out of a clear sky and casting a gleaming golden coverlet over the blue waters of Lake Geneva. Storm and rain had ceased. The breeze murmured softly and pleasantly up in the ash trees, and all around in the green fields the yellow buttercups and snow-white daisies glistened in the bright sunshine. Under the ash trees the clear brook was running with the cool mountain water and feeding the gaily nodding primroses and pink anemones on the hillside as they grew and bloomed down close to the water. On the low wall by the brook, in the shadow of the ash trees, an old woman was sitting. She was called Old Mary Ann throughout the whole neighborhood. Her big basket, the weight of which had become a little heavy, she had put down beside her. She was on her way back from La Tour, the little old town with the vine-covered church tower and the ruined castle, the high turrets of which rose far across the blue lake. Old Mary Ann had taken her work there. This consisted in all kinds of mending, which did not need to be done particularly well, for the woman was no longer able to do fine work and never could do it. Old Mary Ann had had a very changeable life. The place where she now found herself was not her home. The language of the country was not her own. From the shady seat on the low wall she now looked contentedly at the sunny fields, then across the murmuring brook to the hillside, where the big yellow primroses nodded, while the birds piped and sang in the green ash trees above her, as if they had the greatest festival to celebrate. Every spring people think it never was so beautiful before, when they have already seen so many, she now said half aloud to herself, and as she gazed at the fields so rich in flowers, many of the past years rose up and passed before her with all that she had experienced in them. As a child she had lived far beyond the mountains. She knew so well how it must look over there now at her father's house, which stood in a field among white blooming pear trees. Over yonder the large village with its many houses could be seen. It was called Zweisimmen. Everybody called their house the sergeant's house, although her father quite peacefully tilled his fields, but that came from her grandfather. When quite a young fellow, he had gone over the mountains to Lake Geneva, and then still farther to Savoy. Under a Duke of Savoy he had taken part in all sorts of military expeditions, and had not returned home until he was an old man. He always wore an old uniform and allowed himself to be called sergeant. Then he married, and Mary Ann's father was his only child. The old man lived to be 100 years old, and every child in all the region round knew the old sergeant. Mary Ann had 3 brothers, but as soon as one of them grew up he disappeared. She knew not where. Only this much she understood, that her mother mourned over them, but her father said quite resignedly every time, "We can't help it. They will go over the mountains. They take it from their grandfather." She had never heard anything more about her brothers. When Mary Ann grew up and married, her young husband also came into the house among the pear trees, for her father was old and could no longer do his work alone. But after a few years, Mary Ann buried her young husband. A burning fever had taken him off. Then came hard times for the widow. She had her child, little Sami, to care for, besides her old infirm parents to look after, and moreover there was all the work to be done in the house and in the fields which until now her husband had attended to. She did what she could, but it was of no use. The land had to be given up to a cousin. The house was mortgaged, and Mary Ann hardly knew how to keep her old parents from want. Gradually young Sami grew up and was able to help the cousin in the fields. Then the old parents died about the same time, and Mary Ann hoped now by hard work and her son's help little by little to pay up her debts and once more take possession of her fields and
Sample complete. Ready to continue?